So I was all set to destroy Trump today. I'm just kidding. I might have butthurt some of you today, but I'm going to butthurt a completely different crowd today because that's what I do. I butthurt people. You know why? Because I tell the truth. I'm reality, dude. I'm here for reality. I don't care about politics. I have no heroes. You know, I am not following anybody saying this is my guy and whatever he does is right. That's not what I do. I follow the Constitution, bro. And I followed everything that was written into it and the reason they wrote into it. I thought it was the most brilliant document ever written, and it was probably the best illustration of what freedom could be in the history of the world. Now, it's been bastardized to the point where it's not recognizable, but that's not the point. So, anyway, today we're not talking about that. We are talking about socialism. Yes, because every time I see somebody bring up socialism, I see two arguments. The one side says, look at Venezuela and how bad it went there. And the other side says, yeah, well, look at Canada and Northern Europe and how great it is there. Well, how do we fix that? What do we do with that? Let's talk about that. But hang on just a minute. I want to do this to you first.
You heard a while, but that's just what people do. The theory is you always find somebody new. I guess there was a time I believe that was true, but now...
All right, so once again, welcome back. Thank you for putting up with all the butthurt. It's nice of you. Really appreciate it. So, all right, let's talk about socialism. There's a fundamental, what's the word? There's an issue that people don't want to see with socialism. And that's the people who love socialism, the idea of it. So what happens, as I said before, is that people who like socialism, people who support socialism, they point at places like Northern Europe and Canada, and they say, look how well it works there. Look at all the benefits everybody's getting. Look how wonderful life is for those people. Okay, right. So, and then we say, well, look at Venezuela and the Soviet Union and China and how miserable things are in those places and how bad it works there. Yeah, well, you know, they throw that off. So you've both thrown something off that matters. So we know what's wrong with socialism when it comes to places like Venezuela and China and the Soviet Union. But what's wrong with it where it works? Well, let's get into that. So when you look at those places, we are talking about places with relatively small populations relative to us, right? Canada isn't even anywhere near as populated as the United States are, right? Northern Europe, each of those states, each state of the Northern European socialist countries are very small. They're like the size of Florida or Texas in population and area, right? They're not very big places. So why does socialism work in a small place and not in a big place? Well, that's not how it is. It's not because they are small that it works. It is because they are selling to a consumer that is not getting provisions from that socialism, right? The way socialism works is, you know, you in normal terms, well, okay, so I have these things to sell. I'll sell this many, and then this much of that money goes to making everybody's life better, right? So, including mine. I get some of those provisions too. And over time, that kind of dwindles down. It does. It's just reality. That's the Venezuela thing, and that's the, you know, Soviet Union thing. It's socialism is handing out other people's money, and eventually you run out of other people's money if everybody is benefiting from the same system. But that's not what's happening in Northern Europe or Canada, because in those places they have an outside influence that sends money to them. That is, if you're in Northern Union or Northern European, the trade happening there isn't socialized. They're very free market from person to person within those countries. Where their socialism comes from is selling stuff to you and me. You see, because there are 300 million plus consumers that are not getting the benefits from the taxes that they're paying into those countries. When we are buying all of this oil and all of this product from Northern European countries, you know, they're taxing that, and they're using that tax to supply for the people who are in that country. They're 20 million, 30 million people. So they're using that for their socialism, but they're not taxing their own society for their socialism. So they have the advantage of having a consumer union like us, the United States, just 330 million people who just buy and buy and buy, which means we're sending money, sending money, sending money. We keep sending money to all these countries, and they use that money and spread it out countrywide. So it's not really socialism. But see, what happens if the United States did that? What happens if we decide to, use the money coming in to supply our socialist needs? Where's the money coming in from? Who are we purchasing from that we can make any money off of? Right? Nobody. We're not selling anything, to anybody. We're not selling goods at anywhere near the speed that we consume them. So we can't do what Europe does or what Canada does. Canada sells us enough oil that they can use that oil money to spread it out across Canada and have plenty left over, and they can have all the little socialist plans they want, and it all kind of works. There's problems, obviously, but it's closer to working than not. But we don't have that advantage. We don't have anybody that we can sell to. The United States does not have a consumer out there. Nobody wants anything that we sell, not in large enough numbers to supply 330 million people with goods and services. We would have to sell to somebody like China or Canada at astonishing numbers to be able to support the 330 million people here the way that the 30 million people in Canada or Europe sell to us. That's just not going to happen. So it's impossible. See, there's your failure. You don't understand that, yes, socialism can work if you have somebody rich to take from without having to give them anything back, which is what the small people do. But we are the rich guy. The United States is the rich guy. When the United States falls into socialism, there's nobody for us to sell to outside of the U.S. who's going to fund all of these little, pet projects of yours. That's the problem. So don't come at me with, well, if Northern Europe can do it, so can we. No, that's not how that works. Two completely different scenarios. And that's, unless you can show me a way that the United States can sell externally, then I can tell you unequivocally that it's going to go the way of Venezuela or the Soviet Union, right? It's going to collapse. It's socialism, a contained socialism eats itself. The only way a socialist union or state or nation cannot eat itself is if it is being fed from the outside. And we don't have that. There's no one out there unless we find a planet out there full of consumers that we can sell to. So that's what I have to say, guys. I hope that made a little sense to you. If not, let me know. I'll clarify it somehow. I don't know how much clearer I can make it, though. Thank you so much for coming along. I love you guys. See you next week.
You heard a while, but that's just what people do. The theory is you always find somebody new. I guess there was a